Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. And I know you've heard me say this so many times if you're a regular listener, so I will apologize, but I cannot believe how quickly October went. Here we are in November, and I cannot believe it. I swear it's like we blinked and October went by. And I don't know, maybe that happens as you get older now that I'm in my 50s, but I swear, but I hear other people say it too. Maybe it's because we're so on the go all the time. I think maybe that could be part of it. But here we are in November, and I'm excited for the guests that I have lined up this month. And you know that I also, one of the other things I always like to say each week in my podcast, sometimes I'll forget, I admit, but I like to talk about how I know my guest or how I was connected to them, because I do think it is so important that we are open to connection, that we are curious, that we are interested in collaboration, getting out there, meeting new people, reconnecting with people you haven't seen in a while, saving business cards, remembering people, and just getting to know them, even if you don't know too much about their business or even care. I'm going to be real. Sometimes people are like, I don't know what they're talking about. That's okay, but get to know the person. Hear what they have to say. You might connect through hobbies. You might connect through volunteerism, nonprofits. You never know. So, how I know my guest tonight, we're meeting for the first time virtually, but the person who connected us is a wonderful guy named James Monahan, Jamie. I met him through my work at King's College a few years ago. I was doing a project, and it was really to raise awareness about opioids and to try and remove the stigma around that, and just to raise awareness and education about substance use disorder. Jamie was a great speaker who was doing a lot at Luzerne County Community College. He was also able then to help King's College, and he is an entrepreneur. He is out there kicking butt, doing great stuff. And he reached out to me and said, Hey, I think, you would be really interested in getting to know Holly because of her great work and what she's got going on. And I am always, so I should just say to you guys, I'll plant the seed. You can reach out to me anytime. I'm always looking for guests. My one thing, I like to elevate or offer a platform for women every week, to share their stories, because I want my listeners to be informed, inspired, entertained. So if you have a woman in mind, or if it's you, please reach out to me like Jamie did. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome this week's guest, Holly Spece. Welcome, Holly.
Thank you so much, Janine, for your time and interest. I'm so excited.
It's great. And you know what? I got his email and I hadn't talked to him in a while. And just reading, like, he had a lot of great things to say about what you're doing. And it was a lot. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to remember all this for our conversation today. I'm going to let Holly tell me. But your focus and your passion is around helping people with housing and with food, to overcome food insecurity, all of that. But before we get into that, I don't know you. And I want my listeners to know a little bit about you too before we get into talking about your project. Tell me a little bit about yourself, maybe, where you grew up or what your path was that led you here, that sort of thing.
Thank you. So I actually am born and raised in northeastern Pennsylvania. Um, and the reason why I'm so interested in the work that I'm pursuing, and I call it the passion work, is because I was a child in need. I was overcoming a lot of difficult things as a child. And then as I got older, I experienced some hardships, homelessness, uncertainty, and I found it very, very hard to access the resources that I needed to get beyond that. I did, however, and I found that there was just a few individuals that would say, I believe in you, you can get through this. And I found that in just, outside my family. I found that through mutual connections here and there. But I found that it's one of the most important things that an individual needs. They need a person. They need a person that says, I believe in you. And when I had one or two of those individuals, it changed my entire outlook. And it pushed me to want to be better, to get better, and to find everything I needed in order for me to get to from the position I was at to where I'm at now. So
And I'm sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask. So it was obviously people, and that's, I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more about what it is that does help someone like in where you were at and to get to today and what it was. But I guess it sounds like it was just the right people who were offering support or saying they believed in you.
Yes. And it was the type of people, like I said, it wasn't my family, but it was individuals that I just came in contact and they saw me and they're like, you, there's something special and you can get through this hardship. And that is what pushed me. And even though the people changed, I kept going. I found, and it was just so hard to find the right help, to find the right resources. I hit my head a bunch of times, navigating through different things. And in that, and even just a few years ago, I was going through a hardship where I was one bad decision away from becoming homeless, working a full-time job, and I needed to I needed to readjust and go back to this situation and say, you know what? I'm not going to make that decision. I don't know where to go. I can't afford it. I can't afford with my full-time job to live on my own and support my daughter. So I needed to go back. And that was really hard. However, I pushed and I actually started pursuing different volunteering and I met my boss at Johns Hopkins University, and I was going to a trail meeting, and I serve as a director on the Susquehanna Warrior Trail, and I was just talking about different grants, and my boss just so happened to be there, and she said, would you consider working for Johns Hopkins if I created a position for you? And I said, absolutely. And it was life changing. And even now, like it's a year later, and I still cry because I'm like, is this real? Like, is this truly real? And
Wow.
and I'm sorry if I went off chart, but
No, 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 that's fine. Can I ask you just, I want to interrupt for a second. So, what is the, or maybe we'll get into the Susquehanna Warrior Trail, is it?
yes, so the Susquehanna Warrior Trail is a trail that starts all the way down in Berwick, in the near Talent Energy Group, and it ends actually right at Canal Park in West Nanticoke. And that is one of my favorite places to run off to when I need to clear my mind, just sit and think, run. I love running that trail. It is so beautiful, and it's literally a hop, skip, jump away from Wilkes-Barre.
Okay. And so so you met your boss, you said, and then she created a position for you. Wow.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yes. So now I'm a budget analyst at Johns Hopkins University, and I support the Wilmer and dermatology department in post award.
Oh, wow. Wow. And I'm assuming it's a remote, right? Because they're not
Yes,
local, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right.
Can I ask
Mhm.
you, before we get into, and we're going to talk about your project and where you could tell, I can obviously tell this is, you're passionate because it's personal to you. You have lived this life. I want to ask you a couple follow-ups. And the one, it's interesting you said you were one bad decision away from being homeless, or I think we use houseless now or whatever the word is, but the word is you don't have a place to live, right? Or security. I don't think people fully understand or get when you say that like when people see other people, they might be like, oh, oh, they look fine, or they have a job, or their attitude's fine, or like everything's great. But like how, I guess, how delicate life can be in that sense that things can happen for people and you like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Could you talk a little bit more to that like it can be so delicate, that balance of like, you think everyone's fine, but like they could be close to losing what they have or being out there looking for resources.
Yes, and that is so so true. And oftentimes people are shameful, and I mean, I just started being honest and open about my experiences over like the last 2 months because I was personally embarrassed. And I didn't want to admit that because I worked really hard, and I was a good person, and I didn't do drugs, and I had a full-time job. And to say, you know what, I was embarrassed to say I need help because, I didn't want people to think negatively of me, or think, she doesn't have it all together. And, and I got to the point, I'm like, well, maybe if I share my story and there's somebody else in that situation, they can be brave. They can say I need help, and then they can get to where they need to be, And so that's why I really like I didn't want to be open about it when I started this project, because it was just I didn't know how to communicate that, and it was so hard for those words to come out because it was such a painful experience. And oftentimes, other people are living that very same thing, and we have no idea. And I think one of the stigmas I think needs to be, drilled home is it is totally okay to not be okay. It is not okay to not ask for help, though. We all need help. We all need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I believe if more people understood, that it is okay, the world would be a better place.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting the timing that we're having this conversation because as we know right now, in November, SNAP benefits have not been paid out. And I'm seeing a lot of good things, which makes my heart feel lighter that there's a lot of food drives. A lot of people are stepping up in Northeast PA. Now I live in Scranton, but I'm seeing them in Lackawanna, in Luzerne. I'm seeing them all over and I'm seeing people share the food pantries. And I did notice someone that I'm friends with shared a post, I think just today about to remove that stigma and that judgment. Like, there's this idea sometimes, well, if they have a car, what are they doing picking up food? Or like, why do they need that? And her post was basically saying just because they have a car that they're driving in doesn't mean that they don't still need the help and support from these food drives. Because, and I mean, it's interesting. Like, I know I have my own business and it's difficult because I chose to leave, a job years ago. And I'm fortunate that I do have parents. I live right next door to them and they've been a wonderful support system. But even me with my little Honda Civic, I paid for a lease for 3 years and now I have a 5 year loan. So, I mean, if I couldn't pay, what would happen? That car would be taken back, right? So people need to
Exactly.
understand that. And that was her post. And I think we're in a time when people need to just step back, remove some of the judgment and realize that, and not everyone's living like a billionaire, right? Sometimes you're
Right.
just paying the bills or you're paying the bills and you might have a little extra, but that doesn't mean that, you shouldn't be able to go and take advantage of a food drive or food pantry just because you have a car.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I believe that judgment, especially now more than ever, needs to be completely wiped out because it's not helping anyone. And it certainly isn't even helping the person that's judging. They're getting mad for what? For what? How is that helping any situation? It's not helping your anxiety. you know,
Yeah.
Let it go and
Yeah.
focus on you.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a great point because we do see a lot of that. And I won't get us off topic, but like the judgment, the anger, and all that. And you're right. What is it doing for you? Like I think sometimes people choose it maybe because it's familiar, and it's like, or you're unhappy with a part of your life. So you're like, I'm gonna be miserable. You know what I mean? It kind of like that misery loves company. But you're right, it doesn't do anything to be angry or to be bitter or to be, you're not, you don't, if you're not gonna support the food drive, okay, don't support it. But you don't have to add fuel to the fire by being angry or saying nasty, negative things online because it doesn't serve anyone. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think too, I mean, we have to start, I mean, anybody does it, but like we have to start retraining our brain before we start going down that negative judgment to say, you know what? It's none of my business. And guess what? You're going to feel a lot better. You're not going to be all torn up about this person or that person. Just let it go. Rewire. We have to learn how to rewire our brain so that we are responding and not reacting to people's behaviors. And I'm sorry, I'm going off the track, but like that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I think we're all guilty of it at different times because it's
Mhm.
everything. I think everything as far as a healthy habit or it's practice, right? So I
Mhm.
find myself, it's like I react a lot, and then I'm in the habit now of talking to myself out loud. I'll be like, Janine, what are we doing here? What are we doing? And because it's like, let's pull ourselves back before we get down into that spiral, that rabbit hole we fall down. And it's like, what are you doing? Is it worth it? You're draining your own energy. What are you doing? Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
But let's talk about your project because I feel like we're like dancing around it and I want to like talk about it. So it's oh my gosh, and I read it. Let's shine.
So,
Okay.
okay, so Let's Shine is my LLC to develop the project, the Susquehanna Warrior Reserve.
Okay, that's it. All right. And I want to, before I forget, I want to tell people, and I'll put this in the show notes, letshine.org. You can find resources out there now for information about furniture, clothing, shelter, food pantries, and there is a quick access. If you look on the website, resources, quick access. So just keep that in mind if you want to look or if you want to refer anyone or look for someone who could use the help. But tell me about, so you have LLC, but then you have it's Susquehanna Warrior Reserve. Is that right?
So yes. So
Okay.
what we're doing is I said that I developed the LLC to develop the project, the Susquehanna Warrior Reserve. And what the Susquehanna Warrior Reserve is going to do once it's established as a 501c3, it's going to develop a coalition with our federal, state, and our local governments, along with all our providers, along with housing authorities, and along with our education providers, so that we could develop a solution to our rising homeless crisis and our increasing talent deficit. And how we're going to do that is we're going to develop pathways for specific groups of individuals. As of right now, I'm working on a technology that I'm trying to, and I'm actually working on this because I'm going to school to obtain my associate's degree. I'm at Luzerne County Community College. And what I'm trying to do is develop these electronic pathways so that there is constant communication between the providers and the guest receiving those services. So there's no gaps and there's constant communication as needed.
Now, when you're saying providers, are we talking providers of like what kind of resources or what exactly?
Like um, recovery, addiction recovery, domestic, social services like counselors, therapies. I want all of that right in their hands. And that's my whole goal. And that's going to serve as the backbone of the Susquehanna Warrior Reserve. And not only is it going to do that, but it's also going to prove the success of it. We're going to be able to show metrics of success and where everything is at, where how funding is being spent, where resources are being used, and it's going to be clear and transparent.
So that would be now, would that be for the individual user or is this something more for the administrative side?
So, yes, yes. So that part of it will be for the more administrative and also for funders and of those types. And I'm sorry if I went a little bit high level there, but we have to develop. I felt like given, especially what's going on with what we're seeing with all the funding cuts and whatnot,
Mm.
we're always going to have this need. However, I believe if we find a way to be more collaborative and more transparent and document everything, we have a better documentation, we're going to be able to actually help and prove the need. And if they say, okay, well, you've helped so many people, the funding is definitely worth it. And that's what we're trying to do, is to get funders to say, yes, this is worth it. And not only are we going to be providing the guests to these providers, but we're also going to be connecting them to jobs, to education, to trades.
Okay. So, and it sounds like what your goal is too is it would maybe eliminate some overlap because I feel like, so it's like, okay, you've got organization B over here, and they don't maybe realize that they're doing something really similar to organization A over here. And one is filling this much of a need, the other is filling similar needs. Is it kind of, would it help with some of that too? Because I feel like, and I say this not without, I'm not trying to judge or anything, but Northeast PA, I mean, I feel like for this region, we have a lot of nonprofits, and I feel like it looks like there's a lot that seem to do something the same or really similar. But if they collaborate, or, like you're saying, I think understand what everyone's doing, it would make things more efficient.
Exactly. And that's again, I never want to take away from the amazing organizations that are already doing a lot of work. However, I feel like everybody is saying we're lacking staff, we're lacking resources, we're lacking this, we're lacking that. Well, if we all got together and combined all of this, we can make an impact.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you actually creating like the system that would bring people together, or is that what you're working on now?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And is that like part of your school project? Or I don't mean your school project, but your education, that's a project of yours that you're working on?
Well, I'm taking one marketing class over at Luzerne County Community College, and I'm trying to develop a marketing plan around this very concept. And I did receive some really great feedback from some of the organizations that I reached out and asked them to give, to take the survey. And they find, replication in services. They find, no clear communication. And, there's a need for this. There's a need for these organizations that are providing these services to communicate.
Yeah. And I can only imagine, I mean, speaking at like a different but similar level with healthcare, it amazes me the world we live in with how I thought it was so high tech, and we have a lot of high tech silliness. Like I can turn myself into like a giraffe, right, with AI or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, my dad's he has an illness, and you go to one hospital, they don't have that, or his doctor's office, oh, we don't have that. I literally have it on my phone on an app, but these different organizations can't seem to communicate. And I mean, same problem, like similar, I think, but it boggles my mind because it's not efficient at all for anyone.
Right.
It's frustrating. So I can only imagine like a similar idea here where there needs to be so much more transparency and continuity and all of that, where people are talking, and and to help the end user, I think would be so much better, right?
Absolutely. And especially to understand a lot of our end users are experiencing trauma. They're experiencing need. They don't have a roof over their head, a lot of them. So they're not. I mean, I know when didn't have a roof over my head, I was absolutely bonkers. I didn't even know where to begin. And when you're in that mode, you can't think clearly. You need something clear. You need something clear that's going to say, what do you need? What do you need right now? And my hope with developing all of this is I'm going to be working on developing a network between these organizations and between other resources so that we can ensure nobody falls through the cracks anymore. And
Yeah.
that is the biggest need. I mean, northeastern Pennsylvania, there is a lot of amazing things in northeastern Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of amazing people. However, we are hurting, we are struggling, and we need a better way to overcome those situations and become self-sustainable so that we can engage in our communities.
Yeah. And you mentioned, and I know this was in Jamie's email to me too, to help with decrease like the amount of people who are homeless or without homes, and then also to help with the shrinking workforce. So how I'm just curious about that piece of it, like really keeping people here, because we do have that brain drain, as they call it. A lot of people leave the area because there aren't, as we say in quotes, good jobs, or you know what I mean, higher paying jobs. Now, some of us have stayed, like myself, and I'm certainly not, flying my own airplane or have a yacht or anything, but I have a happy life. But still, I've created my own path where it would be great if we had more opportunities here for people. So how would that factor in with all of this?
What we're trying to do is show people the path to become okay, become self-sustainable. And once they're self-sustainable, they have that roof over their head, they're going to have a space to say, well, listen, I'm feeling good. Maybe I should try this education. Especially if we're putting those resources right in their hands, access to Luzerne County Community College is developing certifications. I'm sorry, micro certifications. So that what that does is gives bite-sized education bits to people who are struggling, to people with neurodivergencies. It makes it a little bit more absorbable and obtainable to say, okay, well, I'm not sure I could do a college class, but if I take this certification, then I could get this job.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I love what I know it's a hard time for colleges across the board, I think, because cost of tuition, a lot of, I think, students who maybe aren't mature enough, because I taught part time at King's for a while. And let me tell you, I had a lot of immature students. Again, it's because I feel like sometimes they felt like they needed to be there, or maybe their parents wanted them to be there because it's what you do. But I think that's changing. And a lot of students are going into the trades, which I think is fantastic. Those are great jobs
Yes.
they come out with, which there was a time, I'm a Gen Xer, and back in my day, it was like, oh, that was for the kids that weren't getting good grades. Well, let me tell you, I wouldn't mind being a welder because they do all right. Like these are great
My
jobs.
Yes, there's such a shortage. And my father was a boilermaker and a welder. My So was my grandfather, and that was something that was taught to me. We didn't go to tech because that's where bad kids go. Like what?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And it gave such a terrible image of it. And I feel like it wasn't only my parents saying that? Probably not, because now we're seeing that there's such a huge need for it. And I believe
Yeah.
that's another thing that needs to be, shared more broadly is yes, we need trades, and we should be encouraging kids who want to go in a trade to go in a trade. And we need to start having these conversations with kids when they're younger so they can start thinking about it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, and I think so. My perimenopausal brain trails off, and I was like, yeah, why did I bring that up? Now I was going to say that I know that a lot of the colleges are struggling, but I feel like the ones who are making really more innovative decisions and programming are the ones surviving. And I always like to give a shout out to, I think, Luzerne County Community College,
Yes.
Lackawanna College, and Johnson College. And these are not your typical 4 years. And I think they've made some really smart decisions with programs to appeal to people who are continuing ed, or like you're mentioning, those certification programs, things that are not for your typical, okay, I'm going to sign up and do my 4 years. These they're creating really, I think, unique and interesting opportunities, so it's sustainable for them. They're keeping in business, and they're providing opportunities that we didn't see traditionally before.
Exactly. And that's telling individuals who typically would say to themselves, I don't think I'm college material. Well, you know what? I can get a certificate.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that, I mean, and we could have a whole different conversation on that. That alone, not just the job, but what that does for a person's self esteem, I'm sure. Like, because if you're like, oh, I can't make it through 4 years, I'm not this, I'm not that. Well, guess what? You get a certification, and then it lines you up for, tees you up for a job that you like, that maybe you never even thought about or thought you could have. And now look at this, you have faith in yourself, you have confidence. And that really travels through the rest, other parts of your life as well.
It tells you if you could do this, then you could do that.
Yep. Yeah. And that is so important. Now, I think you mentioned to me, if I'm not mistaken, so are you also working with, is it the launch box at Penn State, or no? I thought, I could be
Yes.
wrong.
Yes, I am working with the Penn State Launch Box right now. They're helping develop my 501(c)(3), which I'm so excited about. And as and I'm kind of like at a standstill right now, but there is one project that I'm jumping right into right now, and that is to develop restorative luncheons for our corrections officers at Luzerne County Corrections Facility.
Okay.
I met with leadership, and what we're doing is we're working to provide 5 restorative luncheons. We're going to meet the corrections officers at the facility. We're going to provide them something yummy to eat. We're going to be putting resources right in their hands. So when they're overcoming any types of incidents at the prison, or even if it's, they're just struggling, there's phone numbers that they can call, and they're going to talk to someone.
Wow. That's so, are they along the lines of like mental health resources, behavioral health, stress reduction, that kind of thing?
Yes, absolutely. So it's we're trying to put emotional, behavioral, and even trauma-informed care right in their hands. So because corrections officers are often overlooked, unfortunately, and there is a huge need to support them. Luzerne County just lost a young woman a couple months ago to suicide.
Mm. Oh my gosh, that's
And and knowing a few of them, this is a job that it's they need more support. I don't have the words to say right now, but they need more support, and they need a space to say it's not weak. You're actually naturally responding to what's going on around you.
yeah. That's I can't even imagine being in the positions that they're probably put in. You know, that's a very sometimes dangerous, I'm sure, job, very high stress, and how you shake that off or how you deal with that in your off time. I mean, I can only imagine you absolutely need a plan. You need resources for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to make sure they understand that it's okay. It's okay to be feeling these things or, struggling. However, it's not okay to just let it simmer inside. You here's the resources. Don't be shy. Don't think you're weak because you're not. Call.
Yeah. Now, so that is that kind of like a separate project that you're working on, or is that part of
Well,
all of it?
this is part of all of it. This is part of the whole mission for the Susquehanna Warrior Reserve.
And so it's a piece of it then. Yeah. Okay. Wow. It's so many. I mean, I could see this being huge, obviously. I mean, there's so many things to it. And it's interesting. And I'm sure you obviously have talked to Jamie about, I know he's gotten very entrepreneurial. I'm so proud of what he's doing. And he has a company, Bedres, I think it's called, right?
Yes,
Where he's trying to close the gap where it's like when someone needs a bed in a facility, I guess you could say for rehab, for substance use disorder, like making sure they know like where there's beds, like kind of closing those gaps. And I guess it's kind of along the lines of what you had said too, like the communication, making sure that there's communication where it needs to be.
absolutely. And actually, Jamie's serving on my it will be serving on my board because it all goes hand in hand. And his support is I can't thank him enough. He was one of the first people that believed in me and said, yes, I'd love to be a part of this.
Yeah. I think, well, he has done, and he has so much experience too. And what he was doing at Luzerne County Community College, they had really great programs. And I'm just so impressed with all of that and helping people get back on their feet or give them pathways to succeed, to like to do it themselves, to find the
Yes. And
resources they need and empower them. Yes. Yeah.
yes, because that empowerment builds confidence.
Yeah. And that honestly, that means so much because I think that can be the thing, the piece that can make or break someone, you know, if they're not
Absolutely.
feeling faith in themselves. I mean, that is so important. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So what are your so you're in school, right? You're going for your associates and you're working toward getting the 501c3 up basically and running, right? So right now are your steps trying to like do like the red tape, the paperwork, that kind of thing, or is that the biggest piece right now, would you say?
Yes, yes. So I have a lot of my documents put together, and Penn State Launchpad is reviewing them all and developing my 501c3. And I'm developing more plans so that we could actually be a functioning organization. So I'm working on all of that. So when we do have our 501c3, we are going to be ready to rock and roll.
Do you have, and I hate to even ask because I know that these can shift, right? Timelines. Do you have, what is your, I won't say goal or plan, but like, what would you like to see? When would you like to, realistically, when do you want to see this up and ready to go?
I would like my 501c3 be ready to rock and roll. I want to say by February of 2026.
Wow.
Then I would like to start pursuing some of the tax sales so that I could start developing empower spaces for our homeless veterans and our children coming out of high risk and foster systems.
Now, when you, did you say tax sales? Is that like getting
Yes.
property for,
Yes.
okay. Wow. So that's a big undertaking.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. But I believe I'm building a great team that sees this vision. And it's not only to provide a space for people to grow, but also improve the communities.
Yeah. So for your focus is going to be with that veterans, you said, and children coming out of high risk situations. Is that?
High risk and coming out of the foster system.
Okay. And would these be places like day type places, or is this shelter, like living space?
I, what I'm trying to do is provide interim housing with a program that's going to build them, allow them to build skills so that they can be self-sustainable, successful, and happy.
Wow. So do you have ideas as far like is this where you would get some other existing agencies involved, like to help provide
Yes.
that what they need? Okay. Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
what I would, my hope, like I said, it's to develop a coalition with all the providers. And all I want to do is provide this space so that we can call them in and provide the services by meeting the individuals right where they are at.
Wow. So have you obviously in addition to the red tape, you have to be having a lot of conversations with a lot of these organizations to get their
Yes.
interest and get them on board. How has that been going?
That I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. I've met with local leaders. I've met with organizations. I'm partnering with FSB Initiative. I'm partnering with Heroes Hearthstone, and also Patriots Cove actually is allowing me to use a space to have my office meetings, and just a space to go up and have my and do some work or meetings or whatever. And they're actually going to be joining me when we provide these restorative luncheons for our officers, because they not only support veterans, but they also support first responders. And it's just great. Like I said, I knew I couldn't do this all on my own, and the only way I could be successful in all of this is by getting the partnerships. And I'm getting, like I said, a lot of positive feedback. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it is so worth it. Especially if even if it helps one person, it's well worth it.
Yeah. Well, and obviously you're gonna. I mean, for what you're. I know it is barely. I mean, that is important because I think every person, individual matters, and every person you help matters. But clearly, you're going to help a lot more because I mean, the sad part is there are so many. Unfortunately, there are so many folks who do need help, and so having this, that you're going to be able to impact so many lives. I'm sure. Yeah. And I mean, and given like where we're at now, unfortunately, it doesn't look great as far as resources right now. So anything hopeful like this on the horizon is really, I think it's really helpful right now for people to see something that's coming, that's on the horizon.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and I believe if we're showing that we're giving individuals the pathway to reach self-sustainability, I think that's probably going to give us a better chance at getting the funding we
Yeah.
need. I'm sorry, I can't like talk right now.
No,
But
no,
no,
that's okay.
it's
It's a lot.
but I know we could do it, especially if I have the right team, if I have the right organizations partnering, and if they see this vision as well.
Yeah. That's well, and clearly you're the right person to deliver the message so that they do get the impact and get the passion behind it because I mean, you sharing it, it means a lot. Clearly, they're like, oh, this woman really means business, right?
Well, like I run into somebody and they're like, "Oh, I saw you, but like it looked like you were busy." And like I'm like, "Yeah, I'm busy." They're like, "Well, you're on a mission." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm on a mission. It truly is a mission. It's something that was so heavily put on my heart." And I will tell you, I was not a confident person. I'm not a confident person. However, I know I could do this.
Yeah. That's and thanks to I'm as you referenced before, the people who believed in you, and these folks in the future are going to have people like you and everyone else that's involved helping them. And oh, these people believe in me. I can believe in myself now. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
I
what's up.
know you said you were working on not crying, and I said, hey, that's okay because this is emotional and it is okay. As we said, it's okay to feel your feelings, right? These are
Yeah.
big things that you're doing, and they're things that the journey and the road that you've traveled. That's a lot, right?
Yes, and like I said, it was just a few individuals that actually said, You can do this. And it just means so much. Like anytime somebody's like, I want to join your team, I need like a day to go cry. anytime anytime something good happens, I need like a day to cry, like of happiness, because I'm just like, yes, thank you. Like, I'm so grateful if you believe in me. Um, because
No, that's a
it
full feeling.
absolutely, absolutely. And and it's because of them that I believe I can do it.
Yeah.
I know, like, I know how to ask for help. I know how to say, I don't know how to do this, but I'll figure it out. And I know that I know the right people that if I say, hey, I need help with this, they're going to help me or point
Yeah.
me in a direction and let me go run that way.
Yes. Yeah. I think that is so important. That's why, like at the beginning of my podcast, why I say that, because I think I love collaboration. And I think it is so important that and I know a lot of people since COVID, it's like they've kind of wanted to retreat a little bit. And that's tough. That is really hard. But we can achieve so much when we work together. And I know that sounds super
Absolutely.
corny, excuse me, but that's true, right?
It is so true because people have strengths and weaknesses. And if we say, listen, these are my strengths, but these are my weaknesses, then that allows a space for somebody that can fill in your weaknesses.
Yes.
And that's how great things happen.
Yeah. And to your point, asking for help and admitting when you don't know something. I mean, I have a lot of flaws, but that's not one of them as far as admitting, like, I know what I'm not good at.
Right.
And I forget what book it was I read years ago. And it was like this idea that, like, a lot of times people want to, like, oh, I'm not good at that. I got to learn that. And they're like, why not? You can lean into what you are good at, right? Make that
Yes.
shine, elevate that, and let the other people who are good at the other things help you and let them shine at that.
And yes. And that's exactly it. Because then you allow a space for someone else to, hone in on their strengths and you're building individuals that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're here to spread light. And we spread light by saying, listen, you could do that well. And when they do that well, their confidence builds. And then they start feeling better about themselves. I think that is so, so important.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's in your name, right? Let's shine.
Yes, yes. Let us shine.
Let
So
us
yes.
shine. Yes. Yeah. I'll get there right yet. I'm sorry. I'm like,
No, no,
let's
that's
shine.
okay. Well, it will be so yeah, let's shine, but it is let us shine. That's what it's short for
Yeah.
because it's not just me. Like it won't happen. This will not happen with just me. It needs the partnerships. It's calling for all of us who want to do this work and who are already doing this work to pull it together so we could close these gaps and make sure these individuals have the right resources to become fully self-sustainable.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that should appeal to everyone. And I don't mean everyone has to, like, give their time or donate or whatever. I'm just saying it should appeal to the community at large because it's like, let's think about that. You have people who
Yes.
complain, like, oh, they're taking resources, or, oh, there's people that are homeless that are over there. Well, if we work together and we get this to a space where people feel confident, they have resources to shine, then it does enhance and enrich and strengthen the community overall.
Precisely. Exactly. For instance, I'm requesting leaders and organizations to come and discuss solutions to our affordable and supportive housing crisis that we're having right now. It is one of the biggest impacts that is contributing to this rise in homeless crisis, the rise in homelessness. And I truly believe that. And I actually did a research. I actually contacted all the housing authorities in Luzerne County, and the wait lists are crazy, crazy, crazy. Just in Luzerne County,
Mm,
and it's a sin.
yeah.
We have to figure out something. I mean,
Yeah.
even if we get in the room and say, okay, well, there's funding for this, or we could do that, or we can't. Okay, well, let's get in that. Let's have that conversation. Let's have that conversation and figure out what we could do. So I scheduled a meeting in January at the Wilkes-Barre Chamber of Commerce on January 26th. And I reached out to local leaders. I reached out to organizations. A lot of them said they're coming, which is great. But this is something that is truly contributing to our issues. And I
Yeah.
believe we can discuss it, and we should.
Yeah. And that is something I think about a lot and I worry because here in Scranton, I mean, we have a handful of certain developers who are developing beautiful apartments and I totally get that it's better than a dilapidated building and I think they're beautiful. I really do, but most of them are 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 a month. And the unfortunate part is what we pay people here is not meeting what the costs of rent and housing is going up to. And we've had a lot of influx of people from New York and New Jersey who are used to higher prices. And I think we need to start having real conversations around that and
Yes.
real conversations about solutions because otherwise the people who are originally from here or work here are not going to be able to afford to live here anymore. And it's a serious issue though, to your point. I think we need, where is the affordable housing? We really don't have enough of it at this point.
Right. And like you said, it's especially with what is being paid in our area.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the gap that I think people don't, well, I shouldn't say people don't understand. Obviously, people who are living it understand, but I feel like the developers may not understand, or I don't know. I mean, it's more than just them. It's a problem. And I don't know
Right.
why. Like you'll see bigger cities who pay their people more, or, and maybe, okay, so their rents are higher, but our rents and our, housing market, it's like, whoa, that's not what the average job here can sustain. So what's going on here? Yeah.
And I think it's a conversation worth having. And that's why I reached out to the local leaders. And that's why it's so, when I say a coalition with the federal, state, and local government, all the providers, the housing agencies, anyone who's contributing to these issues, they need to be part of this conversation if we want to see any type of impact.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry
yeah,
to be
get the
spicy
right
about
people.
it.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
I said I'm so sorry to be spicy about it, but I'm like, we really need to do it.
That's cute. No, hey, please be spicy. I love it. The spicier the better. No, but you're right. You need to get the right people around the table. It's important. You got to be talking to the right people to solve the problem. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, as I start to wrap up here, I do want to ask you for folks listening because you never know who's listening and what they do or what they could contribute. What would you want in addition, like I will of course put your website and for folks to be aware of the listing of like, resources for people. That's really important and please share it with people who need it. But what would you have? What's your ask? What would you want someone listening? How could they help you or how could they help, if not now, in the future or both? What would you want to say? Hey, help me with this.
So, number one, I would love to have more individuals that serve in these different types of capacities to communicate with me and share any type of feedback, any type of information, a direction that I should be considering. As I said, this is just such a huge thing on my heart that I need to pursue. And if anyone knows more than what I have on my website, please reach out to me. If they're interested in serving on my board, we're going to have different advisory boards, and I need individuals to serve on them as well. However, I also could use funding. I have a fund at Luzerne Foundation. I have almost $500 in there. I've been selling shirts, but it's not really going great because I work full time, and I'm hoping if I'm able to get my 501(c)(3), then I can start developing positions to actually do this work.
Yeah. Okay. So, folks listening, if you can donate, if you can help serve on a board, if you have experience that obviously would help, reach out. And what's the best way? Can they go to is the best way to go to the website and then contact you from there?
Yes, they can do that, but they could also call me at 570-592-1846, and I will gladly take the call and answer any questions, take any type of feedback, accept any type of information.
Okay. And the t-shirts, where can they, if they want to show support by picking up a t-shirt, is that from the website?
Well, I don't have it on my website, but if they would like that, they could email me, and I would definitely, I've got a lot of different sizes. Should I show it to you at the back?
Oh, please. Yeah. Because the
Yes,
folks
I'm
can go
wearing
to
it.
YouTube to
Yes.
see. Yeah.
Yes. So
Oh, that's so cute. I love it. It's like a mountain with the sunshine. And what's the lower part there?
So that is a warrior.
Oh,
It's a,
that's a really neat t-shirt. I like that design.
and it's a warrior, and it's there's a warrior in all of us, and there is a light in the darkness. We just got to look for it.
I love that. That's awesome. So, and I will put, if you don't mind, in the show notes, I'll put, because I know you have an email address at your because I have two emails of you for you, but I'll use the one for, I think, is it for the Susquehanna Warrior, or
Shinesorg.org, if you could use that one.
that's it. Okay, Shines. I think I have that. If not, I will make sure, and I will put it in the show notes, people, so that you can reach out and get a t-shirt that way. Can they order them to have them shipped? Is if they're not local,
Yes.
or okay.
Yes,
All right, that's
absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
Okay,
That
great.
would
Because
mean
I
so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I have listeners who are not just in Northeast PA, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who may not live here, but they get it because wherever they live, I'm sure there's similar things going on, and maybe they could maybe share information with you from their experience too, even from outside the area. I should say that too. You don't have to just live in Northeast PA, because maybe you've done something similar to this, or you have some insight that you could provide from your city or from your state or town or whatever that could be beneficial. So yeah, and they could reach out to you via email for that as well, right? If they want to like connect or share something. Yeah.
Yes, that would absolutely be great.
Okay. Well, I will put that in the show notes. So be sure to look for that in the show notes, and I'll put it in the promo of this episode, this podcast, how you can get a t-shirt, how you can reach out to Holly. And if you have something to share and contribute, that would be wonderful. And keep her in mind as she continues on this journey to do really fabulous work, to continue doing fabulous work. I want to thank you so much for being a guest. I'm so glad that Jamie reached out. You're just a delight, and I really admire your strength, your energy, your passion, everything.
That means so much to me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank
It's
you.
been such a pleasure, really, truly. And I love for people to hear these conversations because, as you mentioned before, even if you help one life, I know this is what helps me sometimes, because I've had people reach out and be like, I have to tell you, I listened to this week's episode and it just really rang true for me, or whatever. I know that there's going to be someone out there listening that will be inspired, that may do something they were on the fence about, but because they're like, you know what, I have the warrior in me and I'm going to do that. So they're going to get spicy and do it.
Do it. Get spicy.
I
Yes,
love
and
it.
if yes, that's amazing. And if it, like I said, if it lights up one person to start, making that change that they see that's needed, and it gives them that courage to say, I'm going to do this. Listen, it's well worth it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you again, Holly. I do appreciate your time and your passion. It's wonderful.
Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. It truly means so much to me.
Absolutely. Well, to my listeners, I say thank you as always for listening. In November, coming up, I have conversations with Natalie Juroski from Scranton Girls Rock, and one of her volunteers from last year's summer camp for girls, and Gabrielle. We're going to talk about something they've got coming up in Scranton in November. It's kind of a showcase for some of the young girls who got to show off their musical talent, and a reminder that it's coming up. The second year of the camp will be coming up again this summer. And, I'll have folks coming up. My sponsor, Gabby from Reinvented Threads, will be talking about sustainable ways to give gifts this year coming up. And a woman in the Pittsburgh area who creates masks. It's the I'm Fine project around mental health, mental wellness. So I am super excited. Wonderful women that are coming up. And remember, if you'd like to be on the podcast, or if you have someone that you think, hey, she should be on the podcast, well, first ask her permission, because I don't want to reach out and her be like, why the hell are you calling me? Make sure that the person's interested. That'd be great. And feel free to reach out. And if you would like to support conversations like this and be a podcast sponsor, it is very affordable. Reach out to me and I will be happy to email you information on my podcast sponsorship packages. And as I say each week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.